In the world of legendary American cars, one name stands for pure power and a story that's almost too wild to believe: the Chevrolet Chevelle. This car wasn't just built to fill a spot in Chevy's lineup, it was built to create a dynasty. For a few incredible years, it was the absolute, undisputed king of the streets. But the same ambition that made the Chevelle a legend also led to its shocking downfall. This isn't just about a car. It's a story about what happens when unstoppable power meets an immovable force. This is the rise and fall of the Chevy Chevelle. In 1970, this was the king. The undisputed, heavy-hitting champion of the streets. The Chevy Chevelle SS454, with an insane 450 horsepower, was the absolute peak of American muscle. It was a legend made of steel and thunder. But in just a few years, the king would be dethroned. A perfect storm of government rules and a massive fuel crisis brought this automotive dynasty to its knees. This is the story of how the king of the streets lost its crown. Section 1, The Golden Age, The Rise. Let's rewind to 1964. General Motors had a gap in its lineup between the little Chevy 2 Nova and the huge Impala. Their answer was the A-body platform, a new mid-size car, and the Chevelle was born. It was a massive hit right out of the gate, coming in every shape you could want: coupes, sedans, convertibles, and wagons. They sold a staggering 294,160 of them in the first year alone. But the Chevelle's true destiny was forged with the Super Sport, or SS, package. At first, it was mostly about looks, but the SS name quickly became all about performance. In 1965, Chevy showed they were serious by cramming a monster 396 cubic inch big block V8 into a super limited run of Chevelles called the Z16. Only about 201 of these were ever made, but it was a declaration of war on every other muscle car out there. By 1966, the SS396 was its own separate model, and the horsepower wars were officially on. These things were beasts, pushing up to 375 horsepower with heavy-duty suspension and a look that screamed speed. When the second-generation Chevelle dropped in 1968, it took that aggressive style to a whole new level. With its muscular, Coke bottle shape and a long hood, short deck design, the Chevelle became the poster child for muscle cars. Sales went through the roof, with nearly 2 million Chevelles sold between 1968 and 1972. Then came 1970. This was the year the legend was cemented. GM finally dropped its own rule that stopped them from putting engines bigger than 400 cubic inches in their mid-size cars. Chevy's response was insane: the 454. You could now get a Chevelle with the RPO Z15 package, which meant a massive 454 cubic inch big block engine. And at the very top of the food chain was the LS6. The 1970 Chevelle SS454 LS6 was basically a street-legal race car. Chevy officially said it made 450 gross horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque, but everyone knew the real number was way over 500 horsepower. It was the most powerful engine you could get in any production car, even more than the Corvette. With a functional cowl induction hood sucking in air, a massive 4-barrel Holley carburetor, and solid lifters, the LS6 was an absolute monster. It could launch this nearly 4,000-pound car from 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds and smoke the quarter-mile in the low 13-second range. Only 4,475 Chevelles ever got the LS6 engine, making them instant collector's items. The car was a phenomenon, the absolute peak of the muscle car era. The Chevelle wasn't just a popular car, it was the king of the streets, and it looked like its reign would go on forever. Section 2, The Gathering Storm, The Turning Point. But that golden age was on borrowed time. As the 70s began, a perfect storm was brewing, and it was aimed right at American muscle cars. Three huge forces were closing in, and each one was another nail in the coffin. First up, the government. People were getting seriously worried about air pollution, which led to the Clean Air Act of 1970. This new law demanded a massive 90% cut in emissions by 1975. To hit that target, car companies had to bolt on power-robbing equipment like catalytic converters. Engines had to be detuned, mainly by slashing their compression ratios. The high-compression beasts of 1970 were about to go extinct. On top of that, the way horsepower was measured changed. The industry switched from SAE gross horsepower, which was an optimistic number measured on a perfect engine with no accessories, to SAE net, which measured power from the engine as it was actually installed in the car. Just this change on paper made horsepower numbers crash, even before the engines were actually made weaker. The second force was the insurance companies. They were getting slammed with claims from high-powered cars and started charging insane premiums, making muscle cars almost impossible for most people to afford. All the bad press around street racing made these cars a huge headache for automakers. The throne was starting to shake. The king was being attacked from all sides, and the final, knockout blow was about to land. Before we get to the final chapter of this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. Section 3, The Decline and Legacy, The Fall. The third and final blow landed in October 1973, the OPEC oil embargo. Several Arab nations cut off oil exports to the United States. The result was chaos. Gas prices basically quadrupled overnight, jumping from around 30 cents a gallon to over $1. Massive lines formed at gas stations, and for muscle cars that barely got 10 miles per gallon, a single tank of gas became incredibly expensive. Suddenly, nobody cared about horsepower. Everyone wanted fuel economy. The big block V8, once a symbol of American power, was now a gas-guzzling joke. The market for muscle cars completely vanished, almost overnight. Chevy and every other carmaker had to change, and fast. The effect on the Chevelle was brutal. The legendary LS6 engine was gone after just 1 year in 1970. The Chevelle itself was completely redesigned for 1973 into a bigger, heavier, colonnade style that was built for new safety rules, not for speed. The SS package was turned into just a sticker and stripe package, and it was gone completely after that year. Its replacement was the Laguna Type S3, a car that was more about weird styling than raw power. Even though the Laguna did well in NASCAR because of its aerodynamic nose, the street version was a joke compared to what came before. A standard 1975 Laguna with a 350 V8 made just 145 net horsepower, a soul-crushing drop from the 450 gross horsepower of the LS6 only 5 years earlier. By 1975, you couldn't even get a big block 454 in a Chevelle anymore. The Chevelle name stuck around for a couple more years, but the car had lost its identity. The power was gone, sales were dropping, and Chevy decided to simplify things. After the 1977 model year, the Chevelle name was quietly retired. Its job was taken over by the Malibu, which ironically started out as the Chevelle's fanciest trim level. The king was dead. The Chevelle's fall from the top was just as fast as its rise. It was the perfect car for the peak of the muscle car era, and also the perfect symbol of its sudden, dramatic death. It wasn't beaten by another car, it was taken down by a tidal wave of social, political, and economic changes that rocked the entire car world. But the story doesn't end in 1977. Today, the Chevelle, especially the 1970 SS 454, is more famous than ever. These cars are treated like gold. A perfect LS6 can sell for hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions, at auction. They're like rolling monuments to a time when horsepower was everything, and a mid-size Chevy could be the most powerful car on the planet. The Chevelle's reign was short, but its legacy is immortal. It will always be the ultimate muscle car, a symbol of a golden age that burned incredibly bright, and then was gone. What do you think was the best year for the Chevy Chevelle? Let us know in the comments. And if you liked this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more.